Hey everyone, welcome to the Get the Bag podcast. I'm your host, Claudia Castro. Got my co host, Tim Park. This
What's
is
up, fam?
episode 24 of season two. We're going to be talking about something that's pretty relevant right now in the industry and in general, especially with where the market's going.
Mm-hmm.
Transitioning from a 9 to 5 to real estate, transitioning careers, and how to find success in that. Um, and this is near and dear to my heart because that's something that I'm doing at the moment. As we all know, with the economy and the market and everything like
Mm-hmm.
that, there's a lot of people either getting laid off or deciding like, hey, this isn't really for me. And I'm kind of in that position now where I'm going to be transitioning from the job I've been in for quite some time, hopefully to pursue the real estate full time, but may kind of lay out some options too. And especially with the economy and whether in deciding, right, I kind of have some options deciding whether I
Mm-hmm.
stay in tech, which is the industry I've been in, or you know, just going on full time real estate. So it's going to be a lot of stories that are related to this
Yeah,
topic. That's a little bit personal for me that I'm working on personally, and I think over the last couple of weeks, Tim, you and I have sort of discussed like what we're kind of doing, our approach, uh,
Mm-hmm.
current market. But we're just going to talk about some steps. If you're in the same position, or if you're considering that, we're going to talk about what are some things that you can do, or some things that you can kind of set yourself up for success in transition
Absolutely.
careers, whether it is to real estate or it's to starting your own business and I don't know, e-commerce, or I would say crypto, but no longer is the case. Um, so yeah, we're going to be talking about that. And I know for you, Tim, like you've kind of gone back and forth. So how has that transition been like for you in the past, like transitioning from a 9 to 5, but you've also transitioned back, um, but
Mm-hmm.
also kind of finding ways in how your 9 to 5 or the job that you do also kind of is aligned, right, with real estate and
Mm-hmm.
your business.
Yeah, so for me, it's been like, I transitioned out of kind of a sales job and then to real estate. And then, kind of it had some bumps and then some down, months and stuff like that. So it wasn't as consistent and my processes weren't in line as well too. So like I think that's really important to make sure that you have your processes in line before you kind of make that transition. And so there's times where you're going to flip flop, and it's okay to do that. It's okay to go back, and but continue the drive to be in real estate, right? So a lot of it is me back in sales and me networking with people at different events with what I'm doing, and then with real estate as well too. So I try to keep my business, I guess, to the forefront. Like my real estate business is like always number one. I
Mhm.
always keep that number one. But I still have to do something to generate income, and then also go full force into like what we're trying to accomplish in real estate, like on the residential side and then also the commercial side. So
Right.
I would say that, don't get discouraged if you do have to go back. It's something that, everybody maybe has gone through. So it may take you a couple times before you actually fully immerse yourself into it. So, don't, it's not a failure. I wouldn't say it's a failure. I'm just saying it's like now you know what to do to be prepared for the next time that you go full time, right?
Right.
So,
No, I think that's great advice because I think social media, like society now, it's kind of like it pushes you to because it only shows one side of the story, right? Of like being an entrepreneur. I'm like, yeah,
mhm,
you can do this, you can make this amount of money, it's easy, and it really isn't. It's really hard, and sometimes you do have to go back, and that's okay. That should be acceptable. It shouldn't
mhm,
down upon, and for some reason that is, if you do have to look back. There's some people who are were very close to having to go back, right? Having
Mhm.
to go back to their jobs, and but somehow they were able to figure it out. So whatever works for you, like don't go off of what you're seeing on social media, which is can be really hard, right? Like
Mhm.
to like to for it to kind of affect your self-esteem. So you want to just do what works best for you. If you feel like
Mhm.
finding a job or a side hustle, like sometimes you have to do whatever you have to do, right? Like drive Uber, whatever it is, like figure out what it is that you need. If
Mhm.
you have to go back and find a job, like tap into that. It's all temporary, right? Like
Yeah.
I just feel like life is too short for us to like, be so hard on ourselves and not give ourselves grace. Like it's
Yeah.
everyone has their own journey. And there's many people who it's like, hey, I quit my job to pursue real estate. I had to go back, and now, I'm doing it the right way. And I think the right way, like you said, like when you did it the first time, I didn't have the systems in place. Um, and now it's creating, as a business owner, what it takes. So if you do have to go back, like establish a budget, establish like,
Mhm.
what it is that you need to quit your 9 to 5 if that's what you want. So
Mhm.
creating the processes around your business, whatever your business is. So for us, it's mostly real estate, and that's something that Tim and I have been doing. And it's just weird how timing works. And I'm a firm believer.
Right.
I've been saying this constantly. Probably people are probably sick and tired of me saying it. Is everything happens for a reason, and so your journey's already been the outcome's already there. It's just you just
Mhm.
have to it's just a matter of like, it catching up to you. So, um, I would say learning about yourself. So I think research
Mm.
and educating yourself on whatever it is, right? Like if you're transitioning, but I think the biggest thing is also your network, focusing on
Yeah.
your network and building
100%.
connections. So whether that's you're transitioning out of your job to real estate or whatever it is, like focus on creating lasting relationships and adding value to others, and the rest always works out. Like for me, like transitioning out of my existing job, like I'm hitting up some people that I know where it's like just in case if I have to get a job, like I have one lined
Mhm.
up. So I tapped into my tech network and like asking people, hey, like, do you have like what's kind of your availability, or
Mhm.
what's kind of roles are you guys going to be hiring or whatnot. Um, but at the same time, it's like I'm also creating that in real estate as well and like developing relationships. I'm
Mhm.
going to do an event tomorrow where there's going to be a ton of realtors. And that's something that we're focusing on right now heavily, is almost in a way
Mhm.
realtors, right?
Yeah.
So that's like the prime location of like, hey, this is another way you're a hungry young realtor, like this
Mhm.
to make earn money.
Right.
So we're just in that market where people are just ready to like, you have to kind of hustle, right? You have to kind of
Yeah.
like find it out and make some sacrifices. So um, I'd say that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing I want to bring up is like your ego. Take the ego out of it and don't be stubborn about it. So
That's huge.
just, know what your focus is and know what your ultimate goal is, and if you think it's a step back, but take two steps back and then take one jump forward. So it's a process. Like, we've only been in it for a few years, so there's people that have been in it for 13, 15, 20 years, right?
Right.
So you're going to not tell me they didn't go have some setbacks, right? So um and it's just going making sure that you're just focused on your path. So I think that's one of the biggest things that has driven me to keep on going, because I'm not a person to kind of just okay, it didn't work and then give up type of situation. But for me, it's been more of how can I, continue this, sustain this, but still make sure that everything is, kind of paid, or everything is, in going in the right direction.
Yeah, I think the ego, I think, is huge. You have to make sacrifices, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you have to go backwards to move forwards, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. And again, giving yourself some grace. like for me too, it's like, how can I live below my means too?
Mm,
How can I,
mm. That's
uh,
important.
especially transitioning, we saw the glitz and glamour and um, kind of the luxury side of like people see on like social media, but there's more to that. Like how can like what can I do to really stretch my money? And so for me, like even before kind of the work transition, I was already like, okay, maybe I'll just rent a room instead of renting my own
Mhm,
apartment. And that's like an ego thing too. Like I'm in my 30s, like nobody wants to. I mean, granted, we live in LA, in California.
mhm,
That's pretty
mhm.
standard, right, for you to have roommates. But for
Yeah,
me, it's like I don't even care. Like I'm renting a room and I'm gonna figure it out. And it's something that's
yeah,
super affordable, cutting my costs in half. Because for me, it's like, okay, what can I cut? What kind of expenses can I cut? And so I have extra income to invest in my
right.
business, invest in whatever other kind of thing. So sometimes you have to make those sacrifices for it to work out. So don't shame on people, or don't
Mhm.
shame on yourselves. I think people tend to do that. Um,
No, yeah.
I think
Eh
kind of a oh, you were going to say something?
No, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was just going to talk about I think developing a game plan too, like outlining your strategy of what it is that you need. I think we talk about a lot, like not focusing on the outcome, but focusing on the process or your journey.
Mhm,
But you still want to write some stuff out. So, you have the outcome out there, but you have to write out a game plan of like, okay,
mhm,
every day I need to do this, every week I
mhm,
need to do this, every month. So you need to lay out a strategy. If it is something that you're going to do, like, yeah, how much money am I going to save? Or, how much
mhm.
money this is going to go to this, so that you have that allocated. And you kind of know exactly. And this is why we preach to team up with each other as well, right? Like,
Yeah,
um, you can cut costs that way too, right? So
yeah.
um, JVing goes deeper than just kind of going 50-50 on a deal. I feel like it's like going 50-50 on subscriptions, or
Mhm.
especially if it's somebody that you kind of really know and kind of sort of build some trust or
Yeah,
rapport
trust,
with,
yep.
right? So I think that that's a big thing, and you're able to gather experience that way too. Um, so I think that's a big one there too, is developing your strategy, and I think it's also a time for you to also document what. And I think that's something we've said before, is like establishing some kind of like your brand in a way, right? Like
Mhm.
what like you can earn money through posting and documenting in social media. I know many people
Mhm.
who's they've gotten business from
Yeah.
IG or TikTok. Like, I mean, you've talked about some relationships you built, and people have reached out to me as well. So document your journey, document like the struggles that you're going through, or
Mhm.
that makes it real. I think being intentional with what you post is better than you just posting just to post, right?
Yeah.
So I used to kind of be more into like, oh, well, I need to post this and that, but it's like I want to be intentional with what I'm posting. I don't want to just post just to post, just for the likes, right, or for the views.
Yeah.
Um,
Clickbait stuff.
yeah, although it does help with
It
this
does
with
help.
the podcast. We're like, oh, how should we word our title, right? What's gonna
Right.
have a clickbait? So I think that's a big aspect of it as well, is establishing who is you're serving, so that people know what it is you're doing and they can reach out to you as well. So
Mhm.
that's the important part.
Yeah, I think that's really key, is just to, don't be afraid to put yourself out there, especially in this business. Um, every day is a networking opportunity for you to talk about your business and what you do. And don't be afraid to tell people what you do. Don't be afraid to, you know, um, share your losses along with your wins, because
Mhm.
someone might have that same experience on your loss and you can learn from each other,
Right,
like you're saying, the JV thing is goes deeper than just, doing a deal 50-50. It's just, sharing your experience, and both of you experience that same situation going in, whether you won the deal or lost the deal.
right,
So, I think that's important that you kind of express that, acknowledge that, what you guys went through and experienced, but also how you can grow and share and, help each other with every aspect of the business, whether it's some expenses or you know putting processes together or you know getting more deals or networking and just all aspects of the business and see how you guys can just strive, so
Yeah,
and
exactly.
we're in middle building teams and stuff like that right now within our process, and that's been a fun process too, and just
Hmm.
talking to different real estate agents and stuff. So it's been good. It's been fun actually for me.
Yeah, and that's why they say to enjoy the process, right? Not the outcome. The outcome is like closing deals, getting the
Right.
check.
Yeah.
Um,
That's the result, right?
that's the result. That's the outcome. But there's so much in between that and to get to that point that is really fun. You get to meet new people. You get to learn how to work with different realtors or people. So I think that's exciting. I'm like building something. Actually, I had posted a video of our call yesterday. Um,
Oh yeah.
one of the agents, and somebody reached out like, "What CRM is that?" And I was like, "Oh, like like it's piquing people's interest too." So
Mhm.
again, documenting, marketing yourself, knowing how to market yourself, and that's either through IG and like posting what it is that you do, and being really intentional with that and promoting what it is that you're doing, like showing the real stuff, showing not just like the good stuff, uh,
Mhm.
or the positive things, but also the negative things, targeting that aspect because that's what makes it real. That's what makes you personable with that. So I think that's a big aspect of it. And I think at the end of the day, it's just adding value, right? So, like for me, kind of my transition plan, right? Because for me, it's a mental thing too, right? Like
Mhm.
getting your the mental aspect is so key in this transition period. So ensuring that for me going from hustling and bustling, like for me switching things on and off because my real estate side uses one side of the brain, I feel like, and then on the technical side of my job has always been on another side of the brain. So for me it's like knowing, like going in and being like, okay, I'm committed to this completely. I'm going to focus on real estate for the next couple of months because I do have some runway to play with. I'll still be doing other things, but also getting used to just instead of doing it like part time, kind of in a way, I'm like going all the way full time because I have more time. So it's
Mhm.
also like taking advantage of that and knowing how to be more efficient. So once I'm kind of like fully done, like transitioning out of my full time job, I'm
Mhm.
literally gonna like I really have to be organized and intentional with what the time that I'm using, my schedule, to close more deals. And I think we're even like with what we're doing now and the offers we're putting out, something's going to hit at some point.
Mhm.
So if it's something that I can put my full focus, that's always been, I guess, my excuse, right? Where it's like, oh, the time or this and that.
Mhm.
Now it's like I have the time on my side, so what am I going to do with it? And I think people
Mm.
that's why people have a hard time in between, like leaving their job to going full time because that's a whole mental switch. Instead of having
100%.
depending on someone's income, you're depending on yourself completely, and you have to go all in. That's a whole other like side of commitment. That's a whole level of commitment, not to yourself, right? Like it's not
Mhm.
you're committed to this job. So I think that's where people kind of struggle with and like being like, oh, well, I'm used to people scheduling meetings or doing this and that. I actually have to do this myself. Um,
Yeah.
I think like that mental shift, I think is going to be key for me. Having setting out a plan and like just executing like that. It's as simple as that is like just executing on what it is that you need that's going to produce income. Like
Yeah.
that's gonna be my game plan for the
No,
next, couple months, and then if closing some deals that we can then kind of continue, that process and improving it.
yeah. I mean, the goal is to, close these deals and make sure that we narrow down our process. But the mindset is this huge. And I commend you. I mean, you've been through a lot this year and stuff. So,
Mhm.
just the mindset of, where your space is, and you do take time for, um, you do take time for like self-care and things like that too. So but I think that's important to break yourself away from that and then actually have time to concentrate on yourself instead
Right.
of you're go 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 go, and then you don't want to burn out at all on it because you're hustling so hard because you want to make it as this as the transition. So
That's
I
a lot.
think
It could be a
that's
lifestyle, the way people hustle, like,
right.
where they just don't know how to stop, and that's just how it is. That's what they know. But sometimes, it's hard to miss you miss the little details when you hustle, hustle, hustle like that. So
Hmm.
eventually, uh, you can't hustle like that. It's just not efficient. You burn out, like you said, and it just takes a toll. Eventually, you really want to focus on your systems, on like, okay, I'm doing this repetitively. How can I delegate, or what process can I build in to
Hmm.
not do this, so I can do less and focus on like the bigger, higher income tasks, kind of thing. And you're still going to be hustling, but it's a different kind of form, right? I
Yeah,
think that never goes away, but the thing where you just tire yourself out completely, that just takes a toll. But sometimes you have no choice. So it's just kind of, it's a balance, right?
definitely, definitely.
Um, I know we're kind of at the tail end, but I think, is there anything you kind of wanted to leave the audience with before we take off?
No, I think with the transition, some people are forced into it, some people are planned for it.
Mhm.
However, you're getting into real estate full time, just make sure that you have somebody that you can um, rely on, or has gone through that experience, so you can keep that mindset going. One, to create the process that you need to, and then keep the momentum going on the deals that you have by just JVing or partnering up with somebody that kind of help you through that transition. So,
Yeah, that's a great point. And another thing too is to not be scared to ask for help either.
mm-hmm,
I think I want to end with that too. Is I think even you were asking me, right? Like when I
mm-hmm,
do like the changes happening, you're like, hey, like, are you good? Like, are you going to need
mm-hmm,
to, you know, close out a deal, or
mm-hmm,
like what's your runway look like? And so we had that discussion. And so some people would have lied, be like, nah, I'm good, or I'll be all right. But for me, it was like,
mm-hmm.
oh, it's I have runway, but I'm not gonna lie and not say like a deal wouldn't help, right?
Right,
So
right.
I think it's just also like, that's where you're setting your ego aside, being vulnerable, and
Mm-hmm,
saying like, hey, I need some help, or hey, I really need to close a deal. What do we need to do, kind of thing. So
mm-hmm.
ask for help, but always still kind of having the concept of like adding value as well.
Yeah.
So don't be scared to reach out to your network, your community, and be like, yo, I need help. I need help with this. What can I do for you? Kind of thing. And those that they say closed mouth don't get fed. So eat all that stuff.
True,
So
true.
I want to leave you guys with that, and I hope you guys got a lot of it. I will just add, to kind of close it out, is again, to give yourself grace. Like,
Mm-hmm,
everyone's going through it. You're not the only one, and I think that's kind of what's helped me, is like everyone's gone through something along those way, and we're in a
mm-hmm,
really weird time in the economy and the market. So it's all about like adjusting, and
mm-hmm.
just figuring stuff out. Like, where do I need to pivot? Like, what do I need um to make things work? Like, if things aren't working, it's time to change things up. So
Yep.
um I think that's just the biggest thing, is giving yourself grace, uh to learn, to make mistakes. It's okay. And to just pursue what the things you're really good at. If you're really good at
Mm-hmm.
something, like, focus on that and see where you can add value. So I'll leave
Absolutely.
it with
Love
that.
it.
So appreciate you guys again tuning in. Next week we do have a guest, next Wednesday, I believe at 8 a.m. Pacific. We'll
Mm-hmm.
keep on our regular scheduled time. He's actually a really good buddy of mine who I met at one of the real estate events I went to in April. Here we go, lights. See, the lights are like, yo, it's time to cut it out, G. But he does funding. He actually used to work for a tech company in HR, and transitioned into focusing on like funding and helping small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Really good friend Xavier. So I'm really excited to have him on next week. I think he'll be a really great. It'll be a really great conversation. So make sure you guys tune in for that. But I appreciate you guys tuning in today. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll catch you guys next week.
All right. Peace.